one, you're gonna get you a piece of sheetrock. You're gonna get you a little sheetrock knife, something to use obviously to cut the sheetrock, and you're gonna get you a measuring tape. You're gonna measure out the size of the existing hole or square, preferably. So go ahead and take that sheetrock knife, make the hole in the wall, you know, to a measurement that obviously that you could transfer over to this existing piece of sheetrock that you should have. And from there, you take the sheetrock knife, you place it on a slight angle, and you make your cut. You're gonna cut that out. Then, after that, if you elect to use the stir stick, you're gonna go ahead and get your stir stick. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that your hole is 4 inches, right? You measure 7 inches for your stir stick. So you're gonna measure 7 inches. You're gonna go to your miter saw. You're gonna cut it off at 7. Then you're gonna place a hole or mark with a pin at the top, the middle, and the bottom. Place a mark in the middle of the stir stick, and you're gonna pre-drill some holes. That way, because of how thick it is, or how thin it is in this case, you don't want to drill through it with the screw and not have any pre-drill holes. If you do that, it's actually gonna split. So for, let's just say, a 4-inch hole or 4-inch square, cut out an additional 3 inches. You're gonna have 1.5 inches above and 1.5 inches below. So when you go to actually place this behind the wall, right, you're gonna have a pre-drill hole at the top and a pre-drill hole at the bottom. You're gonna start your screw off at the top. Once you feel the screw come out of the back of the sheetrock, you're gonna line it up with that pre-drilled hole. Then from there, you could continue to hold it with one hand, and then take your other hand and take a Phillips screwdriver and tighten it up. Then you tilt the stir stick one way or another to get it pretty much straight up and down like you need it to be, right? And then you tighten the hole at the bottom. Then is when you place that piece of sheetrock that you cut onto the top of the stir stick. You're gonna have a pre-drilled hole in the middle as well. Now, if you have, obviously your studs are gonna be on your studs for your wall are gonna be on the left hand and the right side, the left side and the right side. But let's just say you wanna run your stick like this, right? From left to right. If you have a bigger hole, right? You could place a stick at the top, the middle, and the bottom if you have an extremely large hole. Now, if the hole is longer than your typical stir stick, then you could use a yard stick. That's a little bit thicker and is obviously longer. 3 feet in the yard, so it's a 3-foot stick versus this one, which I think is like 12 inches, if I'm not mistaken. So you could also place it from left to right, right? Let's just say you have a hole here. You can place it at the top, one at the middle, one at the bottom. Then, like I said, you're gonna have at least 1.5 inches on each side. So if you have a opening here that has to be repaired, right? You have 1.5 inches excess on the left side, 1.5 inches excess on the right side. So you slide the stick in and place it like so. You start a screw on that side, you start a screw on that side. That's for the top stick. Then the middle, and the same thing for the bottom. Then when you place that patch on it, right, it's not gonna go anywhere because you have those stir sticks or paint sticks, whatever you wanna call them, holding that actual piece of sheetrock. Now, obviously, if you wanna go ahead and use something outside of a stir stick, you can as well. So you could rip a piece of sheetrock, rip a piece of plywood or fence board, anything, right? You want something that's gonna be rigid enough so where you place that piece of sheetrock on that wall, it's not going to go anywhere. And like I said before, you cut the piece, you make the piece slightly smaller along the entire perimeter. That way when you wipe mud around, you wipe your sheetrock compound or mud over the entire piece or just along that perimeter. If you elect to come back and texture the top portion, you do it like that. That way that sheetrock compound makes a bond along the perimeter of the newly installed piece into the existing wall. Now the stir sticks, paint sticks, whatever you want to call them, or plywood that you have previously installed along with the screws, they're just there for support, but it's not really needed because that newly installed sheetrock mud or compound is gonna pretty much create a new bond. Okay, what we have here, some electrical that was ran for fire alarm. So what I ended up doing was taking off the cover. Obviously you have this hole that's here. So I took one of these trusty stir sticks. I pre-drilled the hole. You see the hole that's in the middle. I pre-drilled the hole at the top, and I pre-drilled the hole at the top along with the bottom as well. So what we have here is my plug. Okay, so pre-drill hole at the top and the bottom of the stir stick, or something that's thick enough to hold whatever it is that you're trying to place in terms of sheetrock is concerned. You don't want it to be super snug, because when you rub or when you go to place the compound along the perimeter of this piece that you cut out here, you want compound to actually be able to fill those gaps, right? So it's tight, but it's not tight to the point where compound won't be able to go in there. Okay, this is similar to what I did in the garage when I blew down insulation through the walls or down the walls as well. So you take your screw, you just start it like so, right? Then get your good old trusty screwdriver, Philip. Just 1 second here. All right, come hold the camera real fast, just a little bit, like that. Put this flathead in here just to hold it straight. And that's the sound I want to hear, because I know it's tightening up. I want it to be slightly recessed. So now, as you could see, that screw is slightly recessed, right? Enough for me to wipe some mud over it. Wipe the mud along the perimeter. This hole was already here. This one, this one, this one, and this one was 4 holes already here. But these 2 on this side were extremely large already, because they didn't use drywall anchors. But that's my patch or plug or whatever you want to call it. So now when I wipe the mud along this perimeter here and over these screw holes, it's good to go. I'll go get a can of like texture and just lightly mist and spray over that, and then that's done deal. And this is just to give a closer look. You could see that area is right here. It's right here. I haven't textured it yet. I haven't done anything to it yet. If I wipe a little thin coat of mud over it and slightly texture it, I could take a damp sponge, wipe some mud over it, take a damp sponge and just like texture this area right here and blend it with what's actually around it already, and you won't even be able to see that. I might do it, like I might not. Like I said before, since it's way up in the air like this, I mean, you probably won't even be able to tell. It just depends on how you're actually looking at it. Like if you're looking at it straight on, you know, you really can't tell. But if you're looking at it from the side, you probably could tell just slightly where that texture is not the same consistency as everything around it. You could also go to the store if you elect to and, you know, get the Sheetrock patch if you want, and, you know, they have the wire and all of that other stuff, but this here is not going, it's not going anywhere, like nowhere at all. So, that's all I have.